this piece go to? Oh, this is just the audit section.
Here's-
Is it all of it? Oh, you just turned it to the page.
Yeah,
that you
here's
wanted.
the
Okay.
rest of it.
Pull something apart here. 99, but I don't think it would help. So this, the previous year would have been the year that they did the amended contract.
No, I wanted to apologize when you called us. I said, "Oh, Larry."
The camera's live, folks.
That's me.
The camera's live, just FYI.
With, there were 700 alumni in my organization. And
It's 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and get started. Mr. Bush, if I could do the roll call, please.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Waller,
Present.
Mr. Jameson,
Present.
Mr. Bush is here, Mr. Lawson,
Present.
Mr. Hendricks,
Present.
Ms. Ross.
Here,
Do I have to?
No.
Okay, everyone's present.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, for joining us.
Welcome, thank you.
Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Bush, would you like to lead us in that?
Flag, I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comments, Mr. Anglin?
In the meeting minutes that I downloaded, where Ms. Hunter talked about the contract language for the tipping fee, specifically related to the paper, that isn't spelled out quite in there. There's in the contract, Second Amendment, there is no method for granting anybody less than the three entities, Lenore City, Loudon, and the county, on a tipping fee. So I'd like that correction put in there, Gary. With respect to the audit, there is a mention of the closure, post-closure cost that is a responsibility as far as closure cost that Republic provides a bond every year. That bond is supposed to be bought in May or June, delivered to us no later than June. And as Adam said previously, it's over at the finance office. It's $13,380,389. It's also, that same number is in the audit report on this particular page. I just got it out a minute ago. It's important that you get that copy of that bond annually, so that we don't find out at the end of a year that it hasn't been covered. Because it specifically states, both in the audit report, I don't have it in front of me right now, that Tennessee law will hold the county responsible for any shortfall should this landfill close and the money not be there. They'll take it, and then your taxes. And I sure don't want to add another $13 million worth of taxes to my house or my property. That's why it's very important that that is followed up every year exclusively, so that we know it's done and we can sleep at night. Third thing I'd like to talk about is the construction schedule. It was December 24. It's now February 25. And in the bottom of the, I'm looking at this page, it's in your package. About the fourth bullet point down, it includes module J construction and overfills are subtracted out. Subtracted out of what? You're in module J, if I'm not mistaken. You talked about that the last time. And I showed you a map of what module J is. It's the northernmost module on the landfill as you're coming around the road. How did we go from December to February, which was a 3-month trip? That's a question.
We'll get you the answer.
I'm sorry.
We'll get you the answer.
Okay. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is, when was this committee voting on bringing in waste from outside the county? I realize that the Second Amendment says 75 miles, but it also requires that any waste that comes from outside the county, Loudon County, for instance, Anderson County, Rhea County, McMinn County, they're small numbers, but I don't recall y'all doing any kind of voting on that.
Where does it say when you have to vote to bring it out? Where is it in the contract? So we can look at that later this evening. I know special waste from out of county, but I'm sludge, but I'm not sure it talks about special or regular waste.
Rather than tie you up, I'll sit down and look for it, all right?
Thank you.
And I'll bring it back to you. I had it, I thought, right in front of me. Can't seem to lay my hands on it right now. Oh, here it is. No, this isn't the one I wanted to use. That, can you have it?
I'm gonna get up and speak.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Ms. Hunter,
I'm here.
please enlighten us.
My name is Pat Hunter, and I'd like to file a complaint. I think that the agendas in the packet should be available prior to the date of 2 hours before the meeting. I don't know how this body could possibly be prepared to talk about this packet without having it in advance. And if you have it in advance, the public should have it in advance also. In looking at a couple of things real quick, the audit is still incorrect. The names of the people that served during 22 and 23, the names are incorrect. And I'll be glad to tell you who was on there, but most of the people that are listed, that those names are incorrect. With regards to the mud and litter, I would like to know some definitive plans with regards to addressing the mud. I thought there were supposed to be short-term and long-term plans. that were going to be, brought forth by Republic. The landfill expansion update, it was my understanding that, from the last meeting that, the Republic representative said that, and I'm gonna paraphrase it, but it was to go with TDEC, and that there would be a public hearing between 30 and 45 days, which we're getting ready to exceed that period. So, I would like to know what the plans are with that. And also, in looking at this summary, customer activity report, in the old days, the landfill commission would actually look through all the reports. You don't do that. And I really think that you should, because in the summary customer activity report, there are 2 names that I did not recall with regards to sludge. And that was page 5 of 9 from Protect Metal Finishing. I looked at an old report that I had from 2023, and it wasn't on there. And according to even the Second Amendment, which I have over there, this body still has to approve all sludge that comes to the landfill. And at least the months that I've been coming here, I don't recall that, and I'd like an answer to that. And there's also another one that appears here, which I do not recall when that was authorized, and that was the Telco Area Services System, the sludge municipal waste from there. You approved Monroe County, or the previous Solid Waste Commission did, but I don't recall that this commission has discussed that or approved that. And I'd like for that to be addressed. The other thing is about the airspace. From all reports that I read, the landfill was supposed to be full in November. We're quickly approaching November. We don't have, at least to my knowledge, a public hearing scheduled to address public comment. And I hope that when the notice is placed in the newspaper, that you accept oral and written. Because when we get closer to the holidays, we know that people become preoccupied with the holidays, but they should be able to voice their concerns to this commission, most especially people that live down in Matlock Bend community. The complaints I have seen from Mr. Byers, who could not be here today, and neither could Ms. Coffey, but I think I voiced their concerns about the mud and also about the uncovered waste. I did notice that in your inspection report that there were 2 AOCs, one that has to address, one that addresses litter, which has been a previous complaint in past, in at least a year or 2, and also the uncovered waste. And I think they suggested the Republic take pictures and timestamp them. I think that's a good idea, but I also think that we need some boots on the ground, someone to go check the landfill from time to time that knows what's going on. I know you're a voluntary group, but you also have money for looking into these issues. And I'd like the mud and litter covered, addressed, and also one concern that I have, and I saw that you have a budget update. When animals are disposed of at the landfill, are they just covered up with paper, or is there another way that they're covered and disposed of? Because I can also see that that could be an issue attracting animals to feast on them. So anyway, I'd like for those issues to be addressed. Thank you.
Where are you seeing the task sludge there, Ms. Hunter?
The sludge,
The task sludge?
I think towards the end,
Page 7 of 9.
page
And 5 and 7. Page 5 and 7.
I marked it here.
Wrong county, what county is
7
it?
of 9 passed telephone area services system. I thought they just did water. I didn't know they did water and sewer.
Page 5.
But it says sludge, WWTP municipal. Page 7 of 9 at the bottom.
And page 5
Thank you,
is the area.
Ms. Hunter.
Adam, in the area I was referring to in Second Amendment is paragraph 5.14. Specifically addressing sludge.
So you're talking about all Loudon County waste. Were you talking about just sludge from Loudon County or all county?
Any county outside without a written permission. You guys need to prove what's being brought in.
It's just sludge we have to approve from Loudon County.
Yes.
Right, not all waste, just sludge.
Well,
Anything outside the 75.
We don't bring anything from outside of 75.
I guess
Period.
it's interpreted the way you read it. It says that the contractor should not be permitted to accept more than X tons of waste per day at the landfill as calculated on a daily average for any running 30-day period. Contractor should also be prohibited from accepting waste that is transported from a location that's outside of 75 miles. Contractor is prohibited from accepting sanitary waste sludge at the landfill unless previously authorized by the commission under terms and conditions prescribed by the commission. County shall provide such periodic reports, contractor shall provide such periodic reports as reasonably requested to the commission to compliance with the flow and waste streams.
So it just says sludge, we have to approve from Loudon County.
Yes.
Any other waste can be any waste from within 75 miles.
Well, it goes back to, is this a regional landfill or is it a single county landfill? We never solved that in the amendment.
Well, we did, it said 75 miles, that,
Well, we
Loudon
moved it
County's
from
not 75
150
miles.
back to 75.
right.
But if you look at the original permit, it's considered a single county landfill. Now, you can go to a multiple county landfill, but you gotta get permission from TDEC. Nobody's ever asked for that unless people from Republic ask.
TDEC's out there every single month.
Excuse me?
TDEC's out there every month, and they never complain about waste coming from out of the county. So, that's, you know, we receive waste from within 75 miles of the county, from the
Right.
landfill. So that's what our agreement says, so. Ms. Hunter, about the meeting, it's gonna be November 21st at the Loudon City Hall from 5 till whenever it ends.
Why Loudon City Hall?
We'll have to ask TDEC.
Well, I have a big concern with that.
You'll have to ask TDEC, I can't help you.
Well, no,
No,
it's
that's,
solid
TDEC is the one
waste.
scheduling it,
Excuse
that's
me,
where we're gonna be.
Mr. Waller. All the meetings are held here, and there's an issue with Loudon City. I've been to a couple of their meetings, and their meetings were not recorded because they were having problems with their system. And I can tell you for a fact, I have requested that they, that all planning meetings be video recorded, and they agreed to it. They've had technical problems, and before that, we could find them located on the Loudon County website under TV3. Now they're gone. I can't find them anywhere. Not on TV3, not on the Loudon County website, and not on the Loudon City website. So if we're gonna have meetings there, I think at the very least, the public should be able to see them in real time, like we do the county commission meetings, and you can't do that with Loudon City. So that needs to be addressed.
TDEC is working with the city of Loudon to host the meeting there and to have Zoom options available for people to Zoom in. So again,
And who would be zooming in? Would the public
the public,
be able
yes,
to
yes,
zoom in?
yes.
When we can't even access it
You'll have to talk to TDEC, Ms. Hunter, I'm not sure.
Well, if it's a public hearing for the public, we should know ahead of time how we can access it, if we can access it.
It'll be in the public notice that's going out in the next week or two, yes.
Well,
And
so
they'll-
far, we haven't been able to do that, and that needs to be addressed before the public hearing.
If
Thank
it's
you,
a
Ms. Hunter.
Zoom link, it will be probably in the notice and you
It
can.
will be, yes.
And anybody can access it, it doesn't matter. Zoom links are open, you can do that.
And then they also said there'll be 3 paper copies of the part 2 at the county hall, the county office building, at a public library, and at the landfill, as well as online. Okay, minutes from September 18th, 2024. What was it?
September 19th.
September 19th, my apologies. They all run together. I know there was one area for change from TDR, what was it? TRA to TWRA, is that right?
Gary, you wanna explain why it's stated like that? I mean, you just explained it. I thought it should be changed to USDA all the way through that paragraph, and you said no, that was not the question.
Larry would basically need to change what he said.
Well,
Larry said TWRA,
so,
so that's who he requested in his request, so that's what I put down.
I've talked to TWRA, and they recommended the USDA has a Fishery and Wildlife Division, and they're the ones that actually contract TVA over by the dam to solve their buzzer problems. So I've spoken with USDA, and they said they tend to migrate from this time of year through March. And then he thinks then it's a good time to get out there and assess the landfill and do a 6-month trial and see what works, then come back for a long-term
Okay,
contract with us.
it's good information. And you've contacted them?
Yes, USDA and I've talked, yes.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that said they'll migrate this time of year and come back in March or so.
Okay,
So,
I'm good.
do you want to leave it as TWRA or do you want to change it to USDA in the minutes?
Let's, I make a motion to change that
Okay? To USDA?
USDA.
Any other changes to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the September meeting?
so moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we already did the buzzer update, so we'll mark that one. There's been some daily coverage complaint of coverage not being done at the landfill. Ms. Murphy and I are working on that. And we'll get with you all and TDEC, have some kind of solution and checks and balances to make sure it's being done. I just gave a landfill expansion update. I know the hope was to have the public hearing later this month, but there were some issues with the borrow pit and the amount of soil there and the liability on the commission, so we went back and Republic is now bonding out the dirt and that postponed the hearing to, like I said, November 21st at Loudon City Hall at 5 o'clock. Have you read it? Are you ready to talk about the audit? Okay.
I need to look at those emails.
We're gonna push the audit back to next month because.
No, just put it to the end of the agenda.
Oh, okay,
Maybe
we'll,
we can
we'll
solve
just
it.
come back to that. I know Mr. Virus has some mud concerns. Ms. Murphy, I've been talking about that. You'll get an update from us on that one. Do you wanna go through your operations report for us, just so we can,
It's normal as business. I'll accept and listen to any questions there may be.
You were gonna meet with Liberty Tire after
I have not met with Tommy yet.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. Do we need to approve or find out about the sludge that's been added? As far as approving it?
I guess my question is, from an ignorant standpoint, how do we know what was approved 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, like, do we have some kind of a historical list of sludge that's been approved and has not been approved over the years?
We get letters, I can look into it, to be honest, I don't know what was done prior to the Republic taking over.
Yeah.
This is addressing misunderstandings.
Yes. Should we just vote to accept the sludge?
Yeah, I've got a question on the one, AOC finding, with regards to the, cover material. I thought, or litter, I forgot how they got it, I'm looking for it right now. There was a comment, Ms. Hunter brought it up too. I was kind of curious on that, was inadequate daily cover that was placed on a facility closed on Saturdays. Their conduct cell closure was already on site when last customer was leaving a facility or was brought to complete the closure. So they made the recommendation. What, was this in relationship to some of the pictures that were taken, or, you know, because there was a complaint a while back about on a Saturday that one of the neighbors said that the site wasn't closed properly.
That complaint was probably based on that picture, because when, the inspector was on site, like, you know, he wouldn't have allowed us to leave, or he wouldn't have left until it was properly covered that day, so I'm guessing that AOC was based on somebody's complaint.
So the recommendation then for the timestamp photos, or is that something you put in place, or will we put in place, especially on the weekends, heading into weekends? Okay, great. So anybody could get those photos then, if they need to?
I mean, I have them, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Based on the origin report here, looks like for the year thus far, you're running about 13% out of county waste total.
Is that the spreadsheet?
Mr. Bush, if you look at page 3 of 8 of that inspection report, it says that the litter
Yes.
from fill area spread over several areas of landfill, efforts to pick it up were inadequate. That has to do with litter on the landfill. The complaint is another AOC which needed to be addressed. There were 2 separate AOCs. One on page 3 of 8, which is the litter problem that I mentioned. And the other one had to do with the complaint about the waste not being covered on weekends, 2 separate.
Well, I realize there were 2 separate ones. My biggest concern is the site not being closed properly. You know, the litter, I'm not sure how that was addressed, you know, type of thing, but that was my concern, was more with the open site. If it was indeed left open, would be a much bigger concern than litter floating around on top of the landfill, just personally. So, I mean, you can address that if you want to. You know, the litter AOC.
Yeah, I mean, we actively have temp labor out there picking up litter. It's an ongoing thing, and on the weekend that he came, I mean, we had high winds all weekend. It was right around the time that the first hurricane hit Florida, and we were getting some of that residual weather. So, you know, we had high winds. I have temps out there Monday through Friday, picking up the litter, you know, the week prior to the inspector's visit, and the following week, and, you know, even to this day, picking up litter. So it's just ongoing, you know. During the working day before it's covered, if it's a windy day, we will get blowing litter, and we do actively and immediately clean it up.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen that AOC come up before, so the wind issue could definitely explain it. So, like I said, my biggest concern is an open face on a landfill is a much bigger issue, in my opinion, so.
There's the very last page on this, it talks about that there was a person that came out and looked at that on Saturday, the cover. And it says that it was, dirt to conduct cell closure was already on site when the last customers were leaving facility. More was brought in to complete closure.
Yeah, right.
So
I read
apparently it was fine, they saw that it was okay.
On which date?
That was whenever
Whatever the inspector will say.
whenever that complaint was filed, I guess.
10/5/24 is the date on the inspection report.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the very last page, of how they addressed it.
I know there's another email regarding a Sunday closure, so is there any response to why, was there pictures we got from a Sunday where it wasn't closed? Ms. Copy sent?
Just as a big picture, I did speak with TDEC official on that, and they are concerned. They saw the 2 complaints with the photos on a Sunday. It wasn't a litter issue, it was a lack of cover. So before the commission does take some action, if there's anything you want to address or tell us about a new procedure, if you're doing something differently, or if you're already, how you're confirming that this requirement is met on the close of business. You close on Fridays or Saturdays?
Saturdays.
Okay, so that when you close on Saturday, that condition is met. That would be helpful for the commission to hear before they take the next step.
Yeah, I did receive a complaint from TDEC with one photo, and the photo was taken, well, I think there was 2 photos. They were taken from far away, and I guess it had rained about 3 inches that weekend, so our dozers couldn't get through the mud. So what I suggested to the operators is they take an excavator and take the mud and kind of put it over the slope. That was Saturday at noon. So by Sunday morning, when that photo was taken, we had had an additional 1.5 inches of rain. So my guess is, and I was actually up there probably a half an hour after that photo was taken. So the top was covered. I witnessed it myself. The slopes, on the other hand, I don't know if the rain washed the mud off, which caused what appeared to be flagging, but it was covered at that time. So what I'm doing now is I'm either myself or the lead operator is on site on the weekends, taking time-stamped pictures after we close on Saturday to make sure the job's done.
Is there any problem for you to include those in the monthly reports? There should be then just 4 of those, because it'd be 4 weeks.
No problem.
That would make life a lot easier.
I agree.
Then you have your documentation, and as we go along, if there's a further issue, we all can look at the same document, see what. So you were saying that it's covered at the top and that the photo was from the side, so it was looking as though the slope below wasn't covered? Or, was that an unusual condition, or is that just the way you typically do it?
No, that was an unusual condition.
Okay.
The amount of rain is what affected our ability to cover
Get the
that.
side slope on? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the commission just needs that confirmation, but certainly if it becomes a compliance issue, that's the operator's job, not the commission's. So, if you'd include that in the next monthly report, I don't think you need to vote on anything.
No.
That works. We like things that work. Thank you. Whoever does the minutes, let's just make sure that's noted in the minutes.
Yep.
That we have agreement on that.
Mr. Bush is the minute man. There's a growing industry, this is for the request for proposal, is what we're discussing next. There's a growing industry of collecting gas from landfills, and I know at some point the government requires that, but there's, companies now getting into it before that point, so we want to explore what options are out there, what companies are interested in potentially collecting our gas. So, Ms. Murphy's been nice enough to draft an RFQ for us. I think we need to publish this in the News Sentinel and see what we hear back. Would you like to expand on that?
Sure. The state law provides a few options for going about finding qualified persons or contracts or bids, all of the things. But when there's something unusual and highly specialized, like landfill gas recovery, you have a lot more leeway about how you do it as long as you set clear parameters, you give the public notice, you tell everyone what you're doing, and you follow some reasonable procedure to ferret out who's qualified enough to come in and, work with you. So this is not designed to elicit a contract, because that would be far too complicated to do. There are some of those out there, but they are hundreds of pages long, and our state statute, I think, is a 5-day notice period, which is not enough time to put anything like that together. And the commission wants as many options as possible for the community. You want to start looking at your best options years ahead of time to prevent the landfill gas from becoming a problem. As I understand it now, unless I'm missing something, you don't have pervasive odor gas problems. It's early enough, so this is a good time to start checking on that. See who is out there in this business that wants to, take a look at the landfill. Like many things, there's a small, medium, and large. The amount of gas that a landfill puts out can be a small amount, it can be a medium, it can be very, very large. And there's a lot of variables that go into that. And you want to elicit some entity coming in that'll say, we have experience with the type of landfill you have, the size of landfill you have, the type of waste that you have in there, your total tonnage. And we've done this before in other places, and we think we can help you guys. And here are all our qualifications. Here's where we've done it before. Here's how we've done it. And then from that, you can score them and then start a process, if you choose, to form a contract with them. It is also the case that the Inflation Reduction Act passed by Congress during the Biden-Harris administration had some specific tax credits and incentives in there for this industry, among others. I'm not very well versed on it, but just enough to know that it might be worth it to kind of push this into the pipeline, ask around now before some of that expires. I think it's January 1. There's different tiers of what you have to do before, as a company, if you wanted to get the benefit of the incentives. Those companies know what those are and if there's a match or not, okay?
This is January 1 of 2025, or,
Yes, it's coming up.
ouch.
But there's different things you can do. It's not, it's not like you have to have it done by a certain day and you get nothing. There's different issues. This is also early. I think that's one of the first bills to ever go through with those kinds of incentives to bridge the gap. There may be more of that. The industry is just really ramping up, okay? So this is a draft to just elicit sort of a general proposal. All the key terms are under Part 5, the minimum contents and conditions for submittal. So that's the basic the basic picture of it. There's not a landfill gas collection system at Matlock Bend currently, and unless someone knows something we don't know, there's not a there's not a plan to have one there yet. In short, landfill gas you put the waste in and there's a whole series of these models. Looks like a horrible spreadsheet where it's like how much waste is in there, what kind, how much water, and all these components go in there, and you get a modeling of how many tons of gas are coming out approximately when. It's not an exact science, but some models are better than others, and these private companies have some of the best models. So they're the ones that can really look at that. It's proprietary, of course, the way they've modeled. The EPA modeling is a little more generic for gas, but what they're gonna generate, how much gas is gonna be generated, is critical to the third party, because it has to fit in their business model and say, we wanna do the small guys, we wanna do the big guys. So they have to kind of make those assessments, and there's a lot of shoes that have to drop before you get to a, let's make a deal time. But this would open the door and get you started. And be, I think, protective and still cast a broader net so you see who all might be interested. There's a French company that's operating a facility in North Carolina. I talked to the county attorney there, and he was very happy about their work, had a great relationship. You know, there's just a lot of different things out there. I don't know what they are, but apparently there are services that scrape the public notice systems and look for exactly this kind of thing, and then they would reach out and go to the next step. If you'd like, I think we can go over it any way you see you'd like to.
Well, let's talk about an issuance date, or proposal date, and selection date. If we vote to approve this, I think we can get in the News Sentinel October 23rd.
That would be the publication date.
Correct. Issue date, right?
Yes.
Then the proposals date would,
By law, it has to be at least 5 days, but the nature of this, I'd say don't cut it so short.
the 11th, that'd
Yourself a good-
be 2.5 weeks, is that fair?
Yes,
Okay.
unless, I mean, I would, from just a legal standpoint, y'all could,
November 8th, that would be 2.5 weeks.
so by 5 o'clock on November 8th? What time is that office building open till? Where they submit?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And then we had a workshop on the 14th. Maybe we meet, you know, if the workshop's at 4, maybe we do the selection for qualified offers the 14th of November at 5 o'clock.
So, what are these things gonna look like? I mean, you know, when you're asking us
You're at the
to,
edge of the world now, by the way. This is
Okay.
a very narrow, technical, complicated area of industry. This
yeah.
is not the normal. It's not normally what government does. This is not, there's no cookie cutter for this. So if you flip to the back, you got section 5, it has the minimum contents, and I'll just briefly go over those. You know, A is identify your company. Do you partner with other companies? Who are your key subcontractors? And then B is kind of the meat of it. You know, give us a statement of your qualifications and experience with designing, budgeting, permitting, construction, implementation, management of landfill gas extraction system. We're not asking them to send us all that stuff yet. We're just saying, have you done it before? Do you know what you're doing, right? That's just common sense. Some experience, BII, experience with compliance with all these environmental regulations, because the gas issue is a big area of compliance. So the commission wants a landfill gas company that really understands compliance, because they're gonna be responsible for all this. They're not just gonna come in and build stuff. They gotta meet with all the permitting and protect essentially the commission and the county from mistakes. So their experience, do they transport injectable into a nearby pipeline? Have they got experience monitoring and maintaining these systems? Because once you put them in, there's a lot that goes with that. This is a long-term process. What's their experience with, if they've installed a system at any other landfill? And of course, importantly for the community is there a proposed royalty structure? Because they pay you a royalty on the gas, it's big money out there in the gas world. And a different company is gonna have a different,
Do we have any idea how many contractors would be,
it would be absolute guesswork for me.
yes,
And you may have to do this again. We may not get, it's like fishing. You cast it out there, you may catch something, you may not. It may be something that is done again next year. It's a starter kit with clear specifications, but it's broadly written, so you have plenty of options. Okay?
So does this kick us into, if we do this, does this kick us into the allowing us to get the tax breaks and incentives if it started and initiated and everything? Not, I mean, just the process is initiated before the end of the year.
If the company wants to do something quickly,
Uh-huh.
they're the ones that get the breaks.
Oh.
Because they're buying all the equipment, and some of it, for example, like for years, it didn't make financial sense to collect the landfill gas because there's so many other gases in there besides methane. And you have to scrub it out and separate it and do all this. Well, the equipment's extremely expensive. So when the private business is looking at that, they're like, well, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Well, if the government comes in and says, we'll incentivize you with X millions if you get here, here, and here, and then you're on your own, which is obviously commonly what we do in this country, a lot of others, now you're looking at it harder and different. We don't get that, they do. They take the risk, they put in the money, they own the system,
Okay.
and they operate it.
Yeah, so the
But we receive a royalty.
the proposal stage is nothing more than seeing if there's some players that wanna play in the ballpark.
And are
It
qualified.
realistically. Once you get past the proposal stage, once we get it, we look at it, we'll review it and see if there's players in there that make sense, based off of the information they're providing us. And they may come back with a ton of questions for us, which most of the time you do on proposals. So this makes sense, because it's a starting point, as it's being mentioned, and it's a starting point, it may be 3-4 years down the road. They'll tell us, they'll give us indications if, hey, we're interested. If you get a bunch of people right out of the chute interested, then they think something's there. That tells you, okay, there's opportunity here to potentially move on it. If they come back and it's wishy-washy and it's like, well, and some key players don't jump in, then it's questionable that they don't think there's really something there right now, to your point, that's gonna justify the cost that has to go into it at this point in time. So,
Right.
if that makes sense, Monty, because that's all the proposal does.
And you don't really want the incentives, you want the royalty off the gas.
Yes.
You want to capture that so it's not going up into the air and you're polluting the community and you're attracting the attention of lawyers like maybe me, who say, hey,
Yeah, right.
stop doing that. And there's ways to close that circuit and make better business out of it.
Well, I was just thinking if they get those incentives, then we might be more likely to get more people contributing to the, responding.
Yeah, it's
to
a good
the-
time for that,
Yeah.
it's a little late in the season, but it's okay, it's all right. It's still, we're quite early because in some respects, I'm not sure there is enough gas there. That's a
Yeah,
decision
that's-
or an evaluation for a private business to make. They may say, we want a place with bigger gas. Somebody else might say, no, we want a smaller amount. You're in the SCFM department, which I'm not an expert in.
do we not
Now,
have gas
one of the
monitors
key
in
players that
place?
may be interested, sorry Larry,
I'm sorry.
but just one of the key players that may be interested, to be honest with you, is a new player in the block, and that's the mining companies for Bitcoin. Because they are hooking up next to landfills to take the gas to operate the energy needed to do this. So they're using off-product energy, both in electricity, spiking power, and in landfills. I happened to sit at the Bitcoin conference and I was talking to a miner, and he told me that they're starting to look at that because there's enough, they make enough money at the business to be able to justify the equipment and get support for that. So that could be some players, is that industry. It's not just,
Whoever comes in,
Yeah.
and they may be a buyer of the natural gas, or they may be a company that says, we wanna, what we're asking for is someone who designs and builds and permits the whole thing and has done it before. So they might be players at some point. I'd be surprised if they've done it yet, but,
They might be partner players,
You never
is
know.
what I'm,
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
okay, great.
There's,
So a lot of this stuff is changing, and that's a good point as to why we're
Changing
looking
very
at this now,
fast.
right?
Yeah.
Don't wanna sit around and wait.
So if we publish this on the 23rd of October, proposals due by 4 PM Eastern Time on the 8th of November. We need to do a special call immediately following our 11/14 workshop at 5 PM to review qualified offers. Or select qualified offers. Does that timeline work for you, Ms. Murphy?
That satisfies the statute. This is a draft with a few fact checks that still have to be done. The scoring is on item 6, and it leaves a lot of, it leaves enough leeway for the commission to really debate what you get in. I didn't want to give you too much of a specific homework assignment here on the criteria for reviewing them, because you may only get one. You may get none, I don't know. But this gives you a basic point system to work with, and then you kind of go through that as a commission and publicly debate what you get. And assign the points, and it's like Dancing with the Stars, only not as entertaining.
Well, so I know submittals shall be delivered to Purchasing Department of Loudon County, Matt Kleinschmidt. Can questions go to you regarding the RFP since you drafted the RFP?
No, the questions, we have to set it up, the commission, everything has to be very public facing. So we have to set it up so that when any question comes in, the question and the answer is available to anyone who is in the process or wants to be in the process, including the public. Because there's a place in here that says,
Well, number 3 is where I got this from. Right here, email to no later than.
right, that, it talks about it, it says, so no information or instruction can be provided orally or by any individual member or personnel, and obviously that includes me. So when a question comes in, it has to be answered in writing and everyone gets to see it. So we'll, and they can only provide their proposal based on what's been written and made available. So no backroom stuff.
So who do those emails need to go to?
That's a great question. How do you have it set up right now? Who answers questions if the public sends in an email to the commission? Do you have a commission email?
Well, it doesn't work for some reason, so I get into my Waller A at Loudoun County -10.gov. I mean, we can put that email out there if we need to.
Would that go into on the 23rd, the comment, who, if you have comments, if the public has comments or questions?
Well, these are questions almost.
No, these are
from
questions from
the applicants,
anybody who
yeah.
wants to provide an offer.
Oh, okay.
This isn't for the general public to say, hey, what's landfill gas recovery?
Okay.
Because that's not what this process is
Okay,
for.
gotcha, yeah.
This is a B2B thing. Yeah, let's clarify that. That's an administrative item to identify the email that would then make it public facing so it can be viewed. That's what you need. Is there someone that can set up that? An email that's not an individual commissioner?
Yeah.
Yes. I see nodding. And then that email address will be put in to finalize before issuance.
And what's the last date? Is that this? It says no later than. So do you want to do that on November 6th, November 4th?
Want to do what?
It says written questions regarding RFP must be emailed to blank no later than blank.
Year and 3?
Yeah, that include a date. So I guess at the email, we have to get answers and publish those answers on the website. No, so we'll need those no later than what to get those answers put on the website.
All right, so publication on the 23rd.
I would recommend 10 days out.
Yeah, I was
If
gonna
you're
say,
If you're gonna have the final submission by the 14 days out, I'd recommend questions by 10 days out, which they should be able to do if they're jumping on it. If somebody's interested in starting to work on it right away, they'll have questions, they could potentially have questions that need to be answered.
so are you saying questions by the Monday, the 28th? Questions in by Monday, the 28th, and then answers out by,
Well, we're gonna have to turn answers quick.
you will.
28th and then
10
out
days
by the
would be-
4th. I give them the whole week to review the answers.
2 days would be like around the 3rd of November, right? 10
He's
days.
saying the 4th. Have them in to us by, noon on the 4th. I'm sorry, in by noon on the 28th, and we have responses out by noon on the 4th.
If your publication date is Wednesday, the 23rd, I don't think your questions should be, I think you want to have questions no later than the 29th or 30th, is that what you're saying?
He said the 28th.
The 28th.
I thought the 29th or 30th.
I'd say questions in no later than the 29th.
At noon?
I just put close of business, COB.
Now, you doing calendar days or business days?
Total, I'm looking at calendar days, but I'm also,
Normally on a proposal, you do business days. Proposal like this, you're doing 10 business days or 14 business days out because.
We're not really discussing that. We're not
But
bound by
that,
any
that
number of
affects your
business days.
that affects your calendar days, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, the
Because
statute is strangely narrow. The statute's like 5 days, but that's too short. So to your point, you want to give business the opportunity to, whatever y'all decide,
I mean, we have the 23rd, and we're giving them until the 14th. I'm sorry, until the 8th. So, I mean, that's 15 days.
The addendums that are attached at the back should have everything in it that a knowledgeable company would want. So I don't know that the questions are gonna become real that important, and it's also more of a qualification. If they were giving you an actual bid, you gotta have a bigger window for questions and answers. Well, you can also take that out if you wish. It's not mandatory to have that in there, but it's customary. So that's something for y'all to decide.
What about just November 1st? Because then you've got, it goes out on the 23rd, that gives you the whole next week and then 2 days.
But we have to respond. So they submit
So-
questions, we have to respond. So if
Yeah,
they submit
so-
questions by the 29th at the end of business, and then we get back to them by the 4th at the latest, then they have that whole week before they're required to submit on the 8th. Right?
So Elizabeth, what are you doing that with?
I would want to push them to ask their questions as soon as possible, but then balance that with an opportunity. Again, it's just hey, we're qualified to do this, and then you can score their qualifications. You're not getting an actual bid.
Okay.
Far more important if you're getting an actual bid, which you're not. So I just try to push the whole schedule of that up as much so they're paying attention and they get their questions submitted and you have a little time to answer.
So is the 28th too early?
It's only 2 days, business days. I'm looking at.
I would say the 29th of October should give them enough time if it's published on the 23rd or the 30th, and then you get your answer back on November 1st.
Within 2 days, you're gonna get an answer back?
Yeah, it may not be the greatest answer, but everything that we really need to tell them is in the addendums.
Okay, so then let's just do the 29th, close of business, and the answers will be out by close of business on the 1st.
Yeah, if they were asking us like, who do you want to design this out of 3 people? That's complicated and not part of this, but.
Yeah.
I could see another scenario in which you'd need a lot more time, but the answer might be something like, when in doubt, give us a short narrative. We'll score you later and figure that out in the post.
Well, I mean, I would think that people who do this, people who would respond, does this, they already have this, they're gonna throw a packet, it's probably generic, belongs to them.
A lot of it's generic.
They're gonna look at it, just throw it in there, just to see if we respond.
Yeah.
So,
It's, like I said,
in other
you're
words,
exactly right.
we're
It's
just fishing, see
Yeah.
who bites, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So
Pretty simple.
I would push that, then you want to have the questions by the 29th through 30th and answer back by November 1.
That's,
I was saying 29th, close of business, back out by the close of business on the 1st. That'll
Sure.
give everyone enough time to answer.
yes.
I have 2 burning questions. How does TDEC feel about it? And how does Republic feel about
Well, as to TDEC, this is not something they get too involved with. Their job is compliance. So if you're over the 50 megagram NMOCs and you are now paying into the system, TDEC collects money on a Title V. They're like, well, you put this much gas out, it's X number of whatever per ton, pay us the money. I don't see much action from the state in the last 20 years on this subject for compliance. I've seen a lot of poorly managed gas emissions. TDEC didn't seem to mind that. In various instances, there was very little compliance action. Sometimes there was, sometimes there wasn't. What I think the state's mostly interested in is seeing business solving its own problems. And so I think overall, the landfill gas recovery programs and the businesses that are doing it, as long as they're complying with their Title V permit, I think it's a thumbs up from the state.
Okay.
I've seen and heard nothing negative from them on this. If you can do it and close that circle, capture your gas and put it back into commerce, good. Republic, I don't know. They could let us know how they feel about it, and then you'd find out through this process.
it? Okay.
And it seems like, and I wish I could remember the specifics, but somewhere in that CEC report, I mean, I've seen numbers about the methane generation from the landfill, and it seems to be, from what I remember, is really kind of low.
The Tier 2 report, and that's in this document, is the Tier 2 most recent studies said that it's below the 50 megagrams.
Was it 34 maybe?
I don't know what the number is.
I can't remember the number.
We just
but-
Ish.
know it's below a certain benchmark.
Yeah.
But again, we've got this little time pressure here of the Inflation Reduction Act components. We have a new fledgling industry that's moving, and so,
I mean, they might test and find something different.
oh, that's right, and everyone's modeling is different on gas generation. So, and not every business wants to do this. So just because you're in the landfill business doesn't mean you want to be in the landfill gas recovery business. It's a whole nother game that's extremely technical.
So what we're doing here with this is just kind of nudging the ball, get it started a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're seeing who's qualified to address this. And you may get nothing back. I don't know.
I like what Gary said, we're just throwing out. He must be a fisherman.
And just doing it very publicly and open to tell us if you're interested, and then you take it from there.
So our RFP, we have our 3 dates determined for that, page 1. Page 2 has some acres are currently permitted for solid waste to be answered. Waste filling began in blank, waste in place blank. So I'm gonna work with Ms. Murphy to get those 3 answered tomorrow.
And I may have those on another draft. Since they're not debatable, it's just whatever's the accurate number goes in there. It wasn't something for anyone to really argue over on the commission, so.
Then the sealed proposals will be November 8th, 4 p.m. That's the bottom of page 2. We discussed emails and the dates, questions must be submitted in section 3. Amended proposal will be to the Loudon County Purchasing Department, Mike Fleischman.
Can you spell that name for me?
Fleischman,
K-L-
K-L-E-I-N, Schmidt, S-C-H-M-I-D-T.
Got it.
He's the head of the purchasing department.
Did I have an address in there for this?
You have a location for, if we can add Matt's email address, we can also add
Right,
River Road.
a street and a,
100 River Road, Suite 110.
Okay.
Loudon 37774. I'll leave it on.
got it.
So is there a motion for this RFP to be issued and published on the 23rd?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
And you're taking care of publication and a few different,
This now or November?
are you at the end of your agenda?
Yes. Yes.
It's okay.
I don't have an answer, a solid one that I can rely on. My understanding was we had resolved this and I could not pull up an email that said what it was.
That's fine. The audit will be delayed, or one little issue until November. So that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
All in favor say aye. See y'all on the 13th of November. 4 PM at the annex. Workshop followed by a special called meeting for the RFP review. Thank y'all very much.
What date was that, did you say?
The workshop will be November 14th.
Okay, yeah, I got it, did it right, okay, I thought it put it in my place.
And the public hearing / our meeting will be the 21st.
Did it say 4 p.m.?
4 p.m.'s workshop.
That's
That
where
would be
we-
okay.
We fix it.
Special call meeting.
That's at the county offices.
I got a note to get the copy of that bond for you from the finance office.
What criteria would the gas company have with respect to the landfill? Like is it closed or is it working?
Ms. Mullins, are you leaving?
No, going to this.
Please come back.
I didn't get the question.
You wanna bring in equipment, place it on top of the landfill.
You want a copy of this RFP?
Landfill's not gonna be closed for 2034.
That is correct.
So is that the criteria that they're gonna impose upon us, that the landfill has to be?
No, they do these things while
Last
they're
September,
operating after
those companies
closure,
were
there's
not
a
here.
whole.
They
can
brought
do
them
it
in
anyway.
without doing
Well,
it.
you got.
But that doesn't mean they didn't bring it in 6 years ago.
I'm not talking about 6 years ago, I'm talking about this report
For the sludge?
for the sludge.
But I'm
Way
saying,
out.
just because you're approved to bring in sludge, doesn't mean you're required to bring it every month.
Equipment up there.
We're gonna dig
I'm talking
into.
about the
Republic or the
contract
people-
that says
No,
they have
people
to
that-
approve
the
before they
people
come.
that-
Well, so let's talk about
That's why
Monroe County.
They
Not
do this in
Monroe
other
County, Roane
places
County.
where.
How do we know they weren't
operator,
approved back
and
in
then you have a gas
2002?
recovery company,
They just haven't brought
We
any in
know
since
that with
2002.
this,
they figure it
with
out.
this,
There's a
the
lot to be
only
done.
one
You're
on
just-
there
Where this
was
was done
Madisonville,
What
remember,
was done
Larry?
before?
And they
Loudon
were
gas recovery?
approved. They have been the only
There
one
is a complete,
besides
You mean at
Republic
Matlock Bend?
approving something under them. All the
there
others,
was a
those two
complete
that I
study
mentioned were
done
not
and a
here.
contract
Well, I
accepted.
think
They've
They're-
happened
they're
in the
years
last
ago.
year.
How do we know that they just brought it
It's
in
in the
and they
records.
haven't done it in the past? We're gonna look
Right.
into it and figure it out, and we'll vote on it if we need to vote on it.
I think Teresa's gonna look,
You don't
particulars
understand
about
what you're reading.
I don't
I think
recall.
Teresa
If
said,
I give you permission to
Second.
bring trash to the landfill, and then you don't do it for 6 months, And then you finally do
I
it?
believe that if they bring someone, a new company that appears on these summaries, they have to be approved before they bring it here.
But how do you know they weren't approved back in 2002?
Or
Because they're new to the,
They're new
Since-
and
the second, amendment.
they're new since the Second Amendment,
You can go back and look at
Adam.
the
Go
record.
look at it.
Well, we will, but I'm saying, we don't know, so we're gonna go look at it, and then we'll approve them if we need to approve them. How's
You don't
that?
approve them after the fact, you approve them before the fact.
Well, then
The
we need to go
commission
get
can
that.
only approve what someone gives them. So we
That's
have to
right,
talk with
and
the
we don't
operator
know.
and find out what
We're
happened.
gonna figure it out.
So that's what we're going to do.
Pat, there was a study
We have no
done,
idea what they're
there
doing.
was a study
Nobody
done.
looks at this, nobody.
Pat, before you walk away,
Yeah,
there was a study done on gas collection of a landfill years ago.
yeah,
There's
there's a
some more
contract.
recycling there, Miss
What year?
Ross.
You know what year we're talking about?
I don't know, but there was a contract, they signed it, and they didn't live up to it, it's void.
Oh, it's void?
Yes.
All right, so it's dead. But there was a very interesting contract created. And it was brought to a point of accepting,
Mhm.
and we never did anything.
Okay,
So the company walked away.
well, I'm sure in the next 2 weeks we'll learn a little bit more
Yeah.
about what can and cannot be done.
You know those boxes that you took and put over to the
Can you
bank?
catch that driver that's going to
What?
Mississippi?
This study of doing a gas collection on the landfill, somewhere around 14, 15, 16,
Well, let's
something
catch him.
like that.
We put a lot of trash in there in the past 10 years, so we'll let one of these companies that want it, possibly,
Yeah.
figure it out.
Okay.
Illinois,
Take
drive
care.
that truck up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Mullins,
So if you don't care, get a hold of him.
this is a
I
brave
got
lady.
truck broke down. I'm gonna
She's
have to
an
run it.
engineer.
Uh-huh.
In the past, worked for CEC
Yeah.
in landfills.
Yes, yes.
And my daughter's having to go to summer camp with her daughter.
Okay.
So we started talking, and she's,
No, no.
but I don't know if she's still interested anymore. She was
What do
until
you mean?
tonight.
Go home tonight.
So,
There you go.
Tonight is Friday
Just in
night.
time.
she worked for CEC in Texas on landfills, and now she's doing consulting work, and I thought she may be a good addition
Pretty far
to
out.
this.
So,
I'll have to make
So do you
some
have a
arrangements.
copy of that?
Just
No,
tell him
I
to go home
Please.
with the car.
Thank you.
and
Please.
Hold tight and
that would be, and then, you know, whatever.
I'll make
just kinda
arrangements.
take- That would be great. For
Yeah,
you to
Are
catch
you
up.
a civil engineer?
Chemical
Yeah.
engineer with environmental concentration.
How do you like that? How do you like that?
Oh, wonderful. Oh, my gosh.
This is gonna be a great
So
reader
I-
design.
That'll work.
I do remediation engineering for
All right,
lighters, which,
Or lighters, okay.
lighters.
Yeah.
They're
So you, Stephen McNair